Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining me. Today's video is all about the best techniques to brainstorm for the IELTS exam. One of the things that causes most teachers to tear their hair out in frustration is when a student has absolutely no ideas for the second part of the writing in the essay or in the second part of the speaking. When the student is required to brainstorm and be creative, it can often look like this. A lot of students' minds just seem to go blank when they are asked these questions. For example, just the other day I was preparing my student with the essay part of the exam, and the question was something along the lines of, why are crime novels and TV shows so popular nowadays? My student's answer was, because people like them, which is basically saying they are popular because they are popular. In this moment, I knew that this video was necessary because I really feel for students who, for whatever reason, freeze up on the day and can't think of ideas. This could happen for a series of reasons which are very understandable. The first being that they are trying to comprehend a question in another language, which is hard enough, but they are also trying to figure out how to express their ideas in English. Maybe as well, they don't have much knowledge on this subject. They don't want to look ignorant and say something silly. And it could also be just for the fact they haven't really given this much thought. Maybe they've never thought about this question before and they need a few minutes to really think about how they feel about it. Whatever the reason is, I have 3 awesome techniques for you today to help unblock your mind and get those ideas to flow freely when you are asked a question like this in the exam. It's super important to brainstorm when you are writing your essay because it gives your argument coherence and relevance, which make up 50% of your mark, which is super important. It will also help you to make notes for the part 2 of the speaking exam by opening up your imagination and freeing up your thought process. For the purposes of these brainstorming techniques today, we are going to use the same question I showed my student the other day. Now, before we start to brainstorm, it is essential that you understand the question. This is super important first, okay? Because you might be answering the wrong type of question. So let's analyze this question first. It says, in many countries, not just one and not all, many countries, okay? It says crime novels and TV crime dramas. This is talking about both books and television shows, okay? Both of them. What's an example of a crime novel? Maybe The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, yeah? What's an example of a TV crime show? Think CSI, Law and Order, for example. And it says they are becoming more and more popular. This means there is an increasing trend that people are watching these shows and reading these books more and more. The question asks you specifically, why do you think they are so popular? Why? And it also asks for your personal opinion on the matter. Okay, so this is really analyzing the question so we know exactly what we're supposed to answer here, okay? The last 2 questions that I've asked you guys, the why and your opinion, this is where the real brainstorming needs to begin. So let's put on our thinking cap and get to the first technique on the list, technique 1. Take yourself out of the exam environment. Let's put your mind in a relaxed environment, okay? Imagine you are in a cafe with your best friend having a coffee, okay? Or if you prefer, in a pub drinking a beer with your best friend. A lot of Australians would probably prefer that. Now, when you are relaxed with a friend, you can speak freely. You are not worried about judgment or what people think of you. We always have an opinion with our friends. So if you can put yourself in this situation, imagine that your friend is saying to you, you've got your beer or your coffee, whatever you prefer, and they said, geez, mate, I read in the newspaper today that crime novels and TV crime shows are becoming more and more popular. Why do you think that is? What would you say to your friend? Write down your response, okay? Finally, your friend asks you, and what's your opinion of crime fiction and TV crime dramas? What would you say to your friend? Without any judgment, you can say whatever comes to your mind. Write this down as well on the paper. For a lot of people, just taking your mind from the exam environment to a relaxed environment can make a big difference. If you are one of the people where this is not really working for you, stick around for technique number 2. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who would probably have a pretty firm answer for this question. An example would be, in this case, maybe a criminal who could say, because everyone deep down has a violent and nasty side which they need to express from time to time. These books and these shows allow people to indulge that side of them without breaking the law themselves. That could be the criminal's perspective. Maybe a teenage boy, for example, was very excited about these types of action and bloody shows and novels, could say, because they are exciting and cool. There is always a lot of action and it keeps you entertained. That could be the response from the teenage boy. Maybe a police officer has a different view. So if you can put yourself in the shoes of a police officer, they might say, because we all love to see the bad guy get caught, yeah? These books and shows take us on a thrilling journey, which ultimately gives us the satisfaction of seeing justice served to those who deserve it. So guys, the key is just when you get this type of question, try to think of a person who would have a very clear view of this, okay? So if it's about immigration into the country, then maybe think of what Donald Trump would say, yeah? He's one side of it, which is very, very strong. And then maybe think from the point of view of a Mexican immigrant trying to start a new life in the US, if that's the question. So when you think from the perspective of another person, the ideas can really start flowing. That works really, really well. But again, it doesn't work for everyone. So stay tuned now for technique number 3. This is the one that most people associate with brainstorming when they think of it. Basically, it's writing the key word from the question in a circle, and then around the circle writing all the words and phrases that come to your mind when you think of this word, all the words that are related to it. It's not only effective for generating ideas, it's also great to extend your vocabulary when you need to write or speak about the subject. For example, from the original question we had earlier, you could be writing in a circle crime novels and TV crime dramas, okay? This is the circle. Now, around the outside of the circle, you'll be writing all the words that you associate, that come to your mind. There is no right or wrong answer, just all the words that come to you. So it could be violence, CSI, law and order, like before, blood, serial killer, jail, justice, police, mystery. All of these words could appear around the circle, things that are related to it. You can now use these words as the basis for your argument and your paragraphs. You could also join words together that are related. So for example, violence, blood, mystery, serial killer, these can all go together, yeah? And this could be your first paragraph to speak about how humans have this dark side, this fascination with morbid things, and maybe that's why they are popular, yeah? Then you could also combine the other words like police, justice, CSI, law and order into the second paragraph to speak about how people like to see justice being served and seeing the bad guys get their just desserts, which happens in most crime novels and TV shows. Yeah, so all of a sudden you have a pretty good argument. You've got a pretty good outline for what you were going to write or speak about. My final piece of advice is this, guys. If you're still having trouble thinking about ideas, it could just be that the actual English language itself is completely paralyzing you. And in this case, there is an option. There is a final option. You can take the question and you can write it on another piece of paper, translating it into your native language. Leave the original English question, only look at the paper where the question is now in your native language, and do the brainstorming techniques from before, but do them in your language. So if we take the last example and you do the brainstorming with the related words, you have the related words in your language, then it's just a matter of translating those words into English. Okay? This can help a lot because it frees up your mind to think in your own language, and it just creates a much easier thought pattern for a lot of people. I say to use this as a last resort because ultimately, guys, we really want you to be able to start thinking in English and not translating from your language to another language. And it also takes up more precious time in the exam because you're not only doing the brainstorming, you also have to translate afterwards. So I say this as a last resort, but know that it's there if you get really, really stuck. And for most people, this has got them out of that tricky situation in the exam. Thanks so much for watching the video today, guys. Don't forget to check out grade.com for all your IELTS needs, and I'll be back in the future with more videos to help you pass the IELTS exam.